I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not sure if Bitcoin is baiting us right now, but what I do know is that Bitcoin in the macro is definitely incredibly bullish. So make sure to stay tuned until the end, and maybe if we're lucky, we can get some juicy price action on this chart. But today, I'll be going through around 10 different Bitcoin charts that will absolutely change your entire perception on what's going to be happening. We'll also look into Ethereum and the stock market too. But primarily, we'll be focusing on the Bitcoin charts, which will change your bearish negativity about Bitcoin and convert you into a bull. Because the Bitcoin bull cycle is literally just starting. So with that said, I don't want to take too much of your time, just in case Bitcoin rips from where we are today or on this particular candle. So let's get straight into it and look into the 12 hourly time frame for Bitcoin and discuss the importance of where we are currently. But if you can smash up the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, that would mean the absolute world to me. And if you've done that, we can have a look at this red line, because this red line, guys and girls, will literally determine the future of Bitcoin. It's an incredible level of resistance. I mean, if we go back to the 11th of March, which was the last time Bitcoin had a new all-time high, right? The 12th, 13th of March, that's when Bitcoin printed a new all-time high. And we've just been kind of bouncing off of this level. You know, we found support here, we broke down, we came back, found resistance, we had a triple top. I remember making a video about that. Damn, feels like 2 years ago. But Bitcoin has just been bouncing a lot, and now we're trying to break above. But as I said, I'm not honestly sure if this is going to be a trap or not. I am all in into my Bitcoin long positions. If you've been watching the videos, we've been long since $43,000. I mean, when Bitcoin was literally breaking out of this inverse head and shoulders pattern, we went long right there. These videos are time sensitive, and you don't want to be watching them usually maximum after 48 hours. This one's a bit more evergreen. So, but finish it. If you're watching it, finish it. Don't go anywhere. That's the important level, 71.4. If Bitcoin can flip it, have a confirmation candle, a bullish breakout on the 12-hourly, ideally daily time frame, then I think Bitcoin is set to explode. But where? Where will Bitcoin go if we do end up breaking above? And that is a good question. We also need to highlight that, if we get rejected, not good. Not good. Where would Bitcoin go if we break out? And that's the valid question that I need to answer, because we're in this huge parallel channel on the weekly time frame. In fact, we were in a parallel channel, Bitcoin broke out, and now we're testing a second upper bound resistance, if you want to call it. And I think that if Bitcoin breaks out of this mini ascending triangle here, which coincides with the resistance line that we have printed, then I think the target would be around $84,000, which would align with the target of the parallel channel. And if you can see that, this would be the upper bound resistance confluence too. So I think 84.5 would be the next level for Bitcoin. That is specifically where I would be looking to take profit on my long positions. But evidently, I think $90,000 will be reached at some point. So that is my mediocre outlook. If we get rejected, then, a bounce from 64 is possible. But honestly, I don't think we'll be seeing a sub 64K Bitcoin anytime soon, at least in the short term. Now, another super important chart is the Bitcoin Bollinger Band chart. We've been talking about this for a very long time, so I'll keep it short. Basically, whenever the Bollinger Band squeeze, it gives you the indication that a massive price move on any asset class is about to happen. In this case, Bitcoin has been squeezing the Bollinger Bands pretty heavily, and we're right now trying to break above the upper Bollinger Band. And to see that, we need a confirmation above $72,000, I would say. And on the Bollinger Band oscillator, we're touching the green line. Now, it's not too complex of an oscillator, but I'll just keep it simple for the video's sake. Whenever Bitcoin touches the green line and starts rebounding from it, you can see that we have a huge move towards the upside. We had an almost rebound, we got very close to it, but as soon as this yellow line started turning up, Bitcoin exploded. And you can see the exact same thing is happening today. That's why it is another very macro bullish chart. This is something that we talked about when Bitcoin was at 65, 66. It's the stochastic RSI on the weekly time frame. The last time that Bitcoin had a bullish crossover in the oversold territory, Bitcoin pumped 155% until we got another bullish crossover below the 20 line. And we're seeing the same thing again. another very, very bullish thing. And finally speaking, Bitcoin is in a parabola. And parabolas have one final leg towards the upside. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, that's fair. We'll just jump into the weekly time frame and I'll show you the parabola. Now this parabola has been holding up ever since the bottom of the bear market. Essentially, that's when it first started to form. And the way that these things work is that they have 4 different bases. Base 1, base 2, base 3, and base 4. And after base 4, you tend to have one final push towards the upside. Hence, we think an 84K Bitcoin, 90K Bitcoin is entirely possible. We just need to break out of this resistance because that's exactly what happened after the ETF approvals and launches. Bitcoin had a small correction, buy the rumor, sell the news, bullish hammer reversal candle. Same thing here. And once we broke out of the resistance, then Bitcoin exploded towards the upside. Now, keep in mind, today is Friday. And wow, Bitcoin 72.3. No, that's just the CME chart. That's good. If the CME has a premium, then it just shows the amount of buyers that are willing to go long or buy Bitcoin. And we can clearly see that there's huge demand. So the CME is trading way more than what the spot price of Bitcoin is trading at. But today is Friday, so if we have the breakout, then it must be today. Because usually if we have the breakout on the weekend, then we will have a significant CME gap. So on Monday, we will probably close it. But if Bitcoin breaks out here, then perfect. I would not be too much worried about the CME. Before I go into the final 5-ish macro bullish charts for Bitcoin, I want to look at the S&P because the S&P in the short term is pretty bullish. We're having money printing coming in, interest rates could be coming down. But until that happens, I think the S&P can pump. And remember, the final Elliott wave move towards the upside. We're crossing above the $5,300 line, breaking the MRI resistance, which every time Bitcoin or the S&P does that, we rally higher. But we do have a bearish divergence. So I think we will have a final move towards the upside, which will benefit Bitcoin in a positive way. But eventually, the S&P is going to crash as soon as the Fed starts to pivot. And because I am talking about the Fed pivoting, maybe it's appropriate to quickly mention that as well. The bullish news was that Canada actually cut their interest rates for the first time in simply almost a year. And so did the Eurozone. In fact, it was the first time in, almost a year-ish that they cut their interest rates by 25 basis points. But what people do not understand is that Canada's core inflation rate, which is the preferred metric for determining interest rates in the US, Canada's core inflation rate was 1.6%, below the 2% inflation target. Then if we look at the Eurozone, they're at 2.9%. Close to the 2% target. So it's completely okay for them to reduce interest rates. Once we go to the US, we're still sitting at 3.6%. Now, just the day before the FOMC, so in 4 days, we will be having a new CPI reading. If the inflation comes out lower than expected, then on this meeting this month, we could have a 25 basis point drop. And that would initially pump the markets, but I think that would lead to evidently a crash. But my personal expectation, and so is everybody else's, is that we could be getting that inflation or that interest rate drop potentially on the 31st of July. And I think until then, the stock market can rally. But the moment we get the cut, that's when things start to break apart. But anyways, that's enough about interest rates. We can go back into the Bitcoin charts. Now, we talked about the Bollinger Bands, but this is the EMA Bollinger Bands on the 3-week time frame. And you can see that every time Bitcoin is broken above the upper Bollinger Band, it just significantly rallied. You see it here back in 2017, you see it back in 2021, and now we're having the same thing once again. And on top of this, the popular, famous stock-to-flow Bitcoin model had its first ever red dot. In every single cycle, whenever the stock-to-flow prints a red dot, we go parabolically higher. Not to mention that every time Bitcoin breaks a prior all-time high, we go parabolically higher. So I think that this is just the start for Bitcoin, and we will reach the massive, massive numbers that nobody's expecting, or everyone is expecting actually this time around, because last time in the last bull market, everyone was so frustrated. In this cycle, Bitcoin will go higher than 100K. I am personally very confident of that, but of course, always do your own research. This is according to my research. I think Bitcoin is capable of doing that within this cycle. And if we look at the total whale accumulation for Bitcoin, it's at an all-time high. In 2020, when the whale accumulation was at an all-time high, relatively, which was around here, now you can see how much more we have today. Bitcoin went in the parabola from 15K all the way to $60,000. I think a similar move could be happening in the current chart as well. And one of the final few Bitcoin charts, after every single halving, Bitcoin goes up and never returns to where it was 4 years ago. Another mathematically proven fact. And the social engagement is at all-time lows in a, not all-time lows, but a swing low. You can see that the social engagement that we have for Bitcoin when Bitcoin is trading above 70K is the same as when Bitcoin was trading at 38K. In fact, even lower. That to me is bullish. Retail is not back because this is retail being in crypto. This is not retail being in crypto. Once retail is back, potentially at 90K, then we can have another leg towards the upside. That's my personal belief. It can change, but I just don't think the bull market is over. The bull market is definitely not over because we've hit the first top mark, but the second top mark, which is the technical cycle top that Bitcoin reaches every single time, that has not been hit yet. And I think we will hit it 95K, 90K, personal prediction. And finally, for those of you that say that Bitcoin will never reach $1 million, if Bitcoin reaches $1 million in 10 years, that's going to be equivalent to 500K in today's money. So when you buy Bitcoin, you hedge yourself. You are hedging yourself against inflation, against the falling value of currency. So yes, Bitcoin can reach 1 million, 10 million. But remember, in today's money, it's not going to be like 100x from here. No, it's going to be like a 5x in today's money. So do keep that in mind. Liquidations are triggering. The next level of high liquidation will be at 74.6, 1.7 billion in liquidations. And the ETFs are accumulating at a massive rate. This was 2 days ago, and it was the second highest amount of accumulation into the ETFs. Overall, pretty bullish. If Bitcoin goes to 90K from here, they will probably accumulate over $2 billion in one day, and that would be super, super bullish for the market. But I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, smash the like and let me know in the comment section, are you long in Bitcoin or are you short Bitcoin? Guys and girls, have a great day. I'm going to do the moon show, and then hopefully we can do a live stream later on as well. So take care, guys, and bye-bye.